with Trage, your home for everything Wisconsin sports. Now, your host, Trage.
How we doing, everybody, and welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It's Wednesday. It's a good Wednesday. I was gonna come in here and I was gonna be all lit up today and everything and excited, and then, it has been a crazy day in Wisconsin sports. It has been a crazy day. This is one of those. This is the time of year where you don't expect a lot of moves or anything crazy to be happening or any breaking news. Like, we're waiting for catchers and pitchers to report right now. It's one of those times we're in between stuff. No. The Packers, Bucks, everything universe is just getting started today. It's just blowing up here. So we got lots to get into today. We got lots to get into. Aaron, how we doing? Wednesday. You've had a hectic day, hectic work day. How we doing now?
We're doing all right. Yeah, we're doing all right. We're supposed to get a ice storm. I don't know how realistic that's going to be, but yeah, it's supposed to be like insane tomorrow. So hopefully everybody around here stays safe. I don't know in your neck of the woods. I'm sure it's frigid, but yeah, we're doing all right. Super Bowl week, a lot of trades going on, NBA, this, that, and the third. So yeah, excited to get going here and talk some Packers too. Talk some NFL, talk some NBA, all that.
I don't know what's going on with my camera right now. It's being all wacky, and now it's really stinking bright right now. I don't know how to fix that. I don't got time. Don't got time to fix it. I have no idea what's going on right now. I don't even know. All right.
We'll be all right. You're not like glazingly bright. You know what I mean?
No, it's just really stinking bright here. I don't know what's going on right now with the camera or anything. Like, whatever. We'll just get into it here. So we got lots to get into. This Bucks news that started out today. With Chris Middleton. I did not expect this, to be honest with you. I expected possibility of Chris Middleton getting moved on from Milwaukee. I did not see Kyle Kuzma being the in return man for the Milwaukee Bucks here. So the Bucks make the move, trade Chris Middleton to the Wizards for Kyle Kuzma. I almost feel bad for Chris Middleton. Not just for the fact of, he's been a Milwaukee Buck for how long now, and now we just decided, hey, let's part ways with you. We sent him to the Wizards. Question is, how long is he going to be a part of the Wizards, right? I fully expect that the Wizards will move on from Chris Middleton now. They'll just dump him off somewhere else, just like Drew Holiday got traded, got dumped off to the Celtics. I think it's going to be the same kind of move here. The Bucks, in return, Kyle Kuzma. They also got Patrick Baldwin Jr. and a 2025 second-round pick. They sent out A.J. Johnson, too, which I don't understand because – you brought in A.J. Johnson. He was supposed to be a project guy. You went into this last draft and you grabbed a couple of guys. They weren't bona fide, NBA guys at the time, but they were guys where you're like, oh, they got potential. We can build them up here and we can get them ready to go. And potentially after a little time in G League, move them up to the NBA. You just sent them out in a trade package. What was the purpose? What was that draft pick for? You just drafted this guy to essentially turn around and move on from for Kyle Kuzma, who isn't having one of his best years this year. And everybody's like, oh, look at his last season stats. Yeah, but look at this year. I don't care what last year looked like for Kyle Kuzma. I care what this year is looking like for Kyle Kuzma. And at this very moment, not so well. Now, I did see somebody said, well, imagine it's not a trade for Chris Middleton. And I was like, okay, wait, hold on. This commenter's got my intrigue now. And they said, imagine it's a trade for Bobby Portis. So the Bucks are still actively shopping Bobby Portis right now. So what they're saying is that this wasn't the move to upgrade the position for Chris Middleton. This was the move to upgrade for Bobby Portis, who you are expecting to move on from also. Okay. Kyle Kuzma for Bobby Portis. That doesn't sound so bad. 15 points a game for Kyle Kuzma. The 3-point percentage, not horrible, I guess, but not having a terrible year is Kyle. Not terrible, but not great, right? Not having a terrible year. Maybe like saying you're trying to move on from Bobby Portis and you're adding Kyle Kuzma. That's not a bad deal for me. Like I'm okay with that. The Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma doesn't make as much sense. So now the Bucks put them, and this is the nerds, right? The nerds of the NBA world are going to tell you all about this. The Bucks moved under that second apron now. So now they're able to make some moves. Now they're able to make a move. So now they can match salary. So they would be able to move on from the likes of Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis. They could add in, I guess, relatively whoever the hey they wanted to add in there and try and move on from a guy. But they could slap some contracts together and move on. So now I'm interested to see what the Bucks do with Bobby, with Pat, with some of these other contracts. I heard a lot of people saying Brook Lopez. I've thought about Brook Lopez moving on from him. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it at all, seeing the Bucks move on from him, because I at this point, I feel like the Bucks got to get younger. They're just old and slow. And old and slow don't win you many basketball games anymore. It's not how it is. It's not how it works. Not how it is. And I'm not, the biggest part about this trade, and I know there's a lot of angry people after this trade happened. I'm not as upset about losing Chris Middleton. Am I upset to see Chris Middleton go? Yeah. Like, Chris Middleton's been a staple in the Bucks lineup for a while now. Like, I am sad to see Chris Middleton go. But Chris Middleton's aging. Chris Middleton's he's got some bad legs, and he's aging. He's got a big contract. Moving on from him isn't the worst thing. What irritates me is moving on from AJ Johnson. That irritates me. Because moving on from a guy where you drafted him to be a project, and now you just ship him out the door. Well, was the project not going well? Like, that's the one that I don't understand, was slapping him with that deal. So I guess for me, I'm looking at this blind optimism, saying the Bucks aren't done because you don't add Kyle Kuzma and think you did enough. You didn't do enough to make Kyle Kuzma didn't make you better. That's what I want to say. Kyle Kuzma did not make you good enough that you can now go and compete for championships. I did see that Kyle Kuzma tweeted out there and said Bucks. He said Bucks fans, but instead of spelling out Bucks, how like Tampa Bay does Bucks, right? Mm-hmm. He put BUCS in his thing. I don't know if he says that again, I'm gonna kick him. Like I'm gonna kick him myself. Like, dude, it's got a K in it. Like, I don't know if you're trying to just shorten it up, sound cool. I don't know what you're trying to do, but like, it's got a K in it. It's Bucks.
And the Bucks. Funny thing there is like they're not like the Tampa Bay, like you just say, like the Tampa Bay Bucks are known as the Bucks, BUCS, right? But like you're talking about your Milwaukee Bucks, like I almost said Brewers. Your Milwaukee Bucks there, like it's not like that's a slang. Like the Bucks, like people refer to the Pirates as the Bucks, right? The Buccos, that type of thing. But like, if he's trying to like resonate with the fans and he's like, yeah, let's go, like that's, come on, man, like be a little better than that. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to like completely crap on the guy, but it's like, if he in fact thought he was clever by doing that, it's like, come on, man, you gotta be better than that. Like you got, like it takes a 5-second Google search to like, what are some Bucks nicknames? What are some Milwaukee Bucks nicknames? Boom. Whatever that might be, insert that there. Like, it's just, I don't know. Whatever. If he turns out to be a great player for him, like consistent. And like you said, they did get younger with that, the offsetting trade there. But I agree with you 100% in the fact that I don't think they got better. I just, like, it's almost like they traded him for, like, they traded a guy on his decline for a guy that has, a couple more years of his prime. Like, that's kind of, and they're comparable at where they're at in their careers. Like, I know the stat line looks better on Kuzma this year, but we know Middleton was hurt like 3/4 this year. So it's it's apples to apples a little bit.
And we got Patrick Baldwin Jr. back, which, I mean, that's kind of cool. I mean, he's from Wisconsin. You know, he's a Milwaukee guy. He's from Green Bay, and he went to Milwaukee. So I mean, it's cool, I guess, to get a guy like that back in town. I wanted Johnny Davis, to be honest with you, former Badger. I wanted Johnny Davis from the Wizards. So I think Horst, I want him fired just because you didn't get Johnny Davis back. Because I don't see, you know, we could, why couldn't you have just thrown him in on this deal? Just give him to us, you know, just toss him in there. We'll take him. We'll fix him up. He'll be just fine. So Bucks move on from Chris Middleton. And well, that's the big news of the day. That was the breaking news this morning that it's not like the Luka and AD deal where everybody woke up and they're like, what just happened? Like, this is odd. But it was for a Wisconsin fan or for Bucks fans, it was kind of like, oh, we got Kyle Kuzma. Like, oh, okay. I was hoping that when he said Bucks, like they were trading him down to Tampa. I was hoping like maybe we're still like we're gonna send him off to Tampa now, and you know Baker can deal. Maybe we're getting Baker. Like maybe we're gonna deal for Baker and have him come up. I saw him play basketball once. He could be, you know, he could be something. He could be something there. So I'm interested to see, you know, once Kyle Kuzma shows up, how that all transpires there. But the deadline's coming up here, and I'm really intrigued to see what the Bucks have left in store because I just don't feel like that was enough. I don't. If you were trying to set yourself apart, or you were trying to catch up to the Cavs, the Knicks, and the Celtics, there, Kyle Kuzma is not enough. You have to go make another move now. So I'm interested to see what the Bucks do now, whether it's moving on from a guy like Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, if it's moving on from a guy, Marjan Beachcamp would be another guy who could be in there, or if you potentially move on a guy like Brook Lopez. One of those kinds of guys. Who are the Bucks going to move on from? And I'm going to be interested to see there. But there is another breaking news. We just got this as we were starting here. The Heat have reportedly sent Jimmy Butler. So Jimmy Butler is finally on the move. He's getting sent to the Golden State Warriors in exchange for Andrew Wiggins. And, well, there was a couple other pieces to that one there. Who are the other ones? It was Dennis Schroeder was one of them. Who the heck was the last one there? Kyle Anderson and a protected first-round picks. There you go. That was the report there. And then apparently Jimmy Butler has agreed to a new 2-year, $121 million extension with the franchise through 2026 and 2027. So Jimmy Butler not only going to the Warriors, but signing a big-time deal to be a part of the Golden State Warriors. For the Warriors, I guess, like you went in there, you asked Steph, like, hey, can you work with this guy? You think this guy is going to be, you know, the piece that you need? You got to maximize what Steph Curry's final years of his career are going to be. And you hope maybe Jimmy Butler is going to be that guy. I don't know. They got a lot of young pieces, right? And you moved on from Andrew Wiggins. You hope that Jimmy Butler is going to replace what Andrew Wiggins had for you. And then you hope that some of the other youth pieces can kind of build up from there. So we'll see. We'll see kind of what happens. I don't know. The West is kind of getting shook up right now. It's wide open on both sides. And the trade deadline is looming. So we'll see what kind of happens there. Kevin Durant still on the trade block, I guess you could say, but the Warriors were the team that everybody was looking at to potentially make the move for him. Now Jimmy Butler is heading to the Warriors, so I don't think that KD will be heading there. So I don't know if he's going to stay with the Suns or what the deal is going to be. I saw they were talking about the Bucks in there, and I was like, I don't think the Bucks are going to get KD. Like, would it be cool? Yeah, I would take KD, like, no doubt. Like, KD needs to go to a team where he doesn't have to be the guy. Like, he can just be a role player. He doesn't have to be a leader. He's just got to be a guy, and he's got to be a scorer. Like, that's when he's going to be at his best. When he was with the Warriors, he carried them because he didn't have to be the leader. He didn't have to be that guy. I think, you know, he's got to go to a team like that. The Bucks, that would be a hope and a prayer, right? But that ain't going to happen. They don't have any kind of room for that right now. So we'll see what the Bucks do. We'll see what the Bucks do here coming up here pretty soon. But we got to hit an ad break real quick. We're going to hit the ad break, come back. We want to get the Josh Jacobs comments coming out of. He had a couple of different ones down at Super Bowl today. He was down there, and he had some things to say. So we want to get to that on the backside of the ad break. So we will be right back.
This show is brought to you by these fantastic sponsors. Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in to see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville. Next, we have Sport and Spine Clinic of Greenwood. Have you been injured recently, whether it was at work, shoveling snow, or mowing the lawn? Stop in and see Chad at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. He will get you right, get you back to work, back to shoveling snow, back to mowing the lawn, doing whatever you were doing, feeling better than ever. And then we have Game Day Supply in Onalaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply in Onalaska to help your team get the sweetest gear.
All right, Aaron, we got to get to this Packers talk because Josh Jacobs, well, I don't know. There's multiple ways to look at this. So I want to get opinions on this one here. So Josh Jacobs said, essentially, I think we need a guy that's proven to be a number one wide receiver already. So that was one of his comments that he made out there. He also said they asked him, what do the Packers need? He said about 3 guys. He got Max Crosby on his list. He's got Myles Garrett on his list. And then who's the third, right? And everybody was like, oh, what about Devontae Adams, your former teammate out there with the Raiders? Maybe you'd want him back. And he's like, yeah, we got room for Devontae. And he kept saying that. And then it came to his teammates. Dontavian Wicks on Twitter posted a couple laughing emojis with this post about Josh Jacobs talking down there. A couple laughing emojis. You don't know. Nobody asked Dontavian Wicks, hey, what'd you mean, right? Are you just trying to just mess around, or are you haha, this ain't really funny right now. You're causing some turmoil here inside the locker room. Jaden Reed gets all kinds of fired up too about it, saying that fans are dissing on their players and everything like that. I saw that across social media. So you got the players getting upset. I've seen some people say, hey, Josh Jacobs is 100% right. They need a number one guy. They need to get a pass rusher. They need to get help in that room. All right. And then I've seen people say, I don't disagree with what he said, but he should have kept that private. It's not good for team morale to have stuff like that floating around there. It's not good for the team to build up with that. I can see it from both ways. I can. Do you want Josh Jacobs parading around saying yeah, we need to get this and we need to get that and we need to do this? Maybe not, right? Maybe in some people's eyes, and I could see it from this perspective, you want Josh Jacobs to go into Brian Gutekunst's office. Don't tell this to the media, right? This is where I do agree with it. Has Josh Jacobs walked into Matt LaFleur's office and talked to Brian Gutekunst and said, hey, you mother effers, this is what we need. This is what we need to win. We need to get this guy. We need to get this guy. We need to get somebody on that defense to help out McKinney. We need this. We need that. Did he walk in and say that? Because if he already told Brian Gutekunst and he told Matt LaFleur and he told everybody this already, then go tell everybody else, right? Go tell the world that. What I hate is when guys don't go in there and they don't tell their ownership or whatever, right? They just go to the media and they're like, oh, well, hopefully if I say it to the media, then my bosses will hear about it. And then they'll be like, oh, well, this is what Josh said. I don't want that. So I'm okay with him going to the media. I'm okay with him saying it. Like you're just saying what everybody else is thinking, right? Everybody in the media and everybody in the media twice has said the Packers need a number one wide receiver. Everybody has said that at this point. Everybody has said the Packers need a bona fide pass rusher. Everybody has said that at this point. But the only thing that I wouldn't like is if Josh Jacobs just went to the media and that was it. He didn't go to Brian Gutekunst. He didn't sit down with Matt LaFleur and say, all right, this is what I saw. You brought me in. You said I was one of the veterans. I was one of the older guys in the room. You wanted me to be a leader. This is what I need to really take this thing to the next level. This is what we need, right? We got Jay Love. You got me. I got this offensive line. We got some weapons, but we need a guy. We need a veteran in that wide receiver room. We need a dude out there, right? Defensively, I'm watching these guys out here, and maybe you bring in a guy, maybe he's talking with Xavier McKinney. And he's like, hey, McKinney, because McKinney brought in, he was one of the leaders on the defense. And you're like, hey, McKinney, what do you think you need over there on that defensive side? And you know what McKinney told me? And that's Josh Jacobs. Well, we need a bona fide pass rusher, right? We got these young guys. They're developing, but they're taking a while. We need a guy to come in here right now and be that guy, to be that pass rusher. Because right now we're getting 8 alive in the secondary because we don't have a pass rush. And if you walked in and told Matt LaFleur all that stuff, even though he should already be able to see that, and Brian Gutekunst should be able to see that already, if you walk in there and you tell him that kind of stuff, I'm all good with you going to the media. I am. I just hate when the media is the outlet to the top, right? When a player has to go to the media to get the attention of their head coach or the attention of their GM. That's where I don't want it to get to. I want it to be that they told their GM this, and they were like, dude, go get me this. This is what we need. And then go with it. So I don't know, Aaron. I mean, how do you feel about it? Here, we don't have I could play the full audio clip here, but it's no real point to here about what Josh Jacobs had to say. But essentially talking about getting a number one wide receiver and that they need, pieces and that, there's 3 pieces out or they're 3 guys short and stuff like that. I mean, how do you feel about Josh Jacobs going to the media with that, talking about that media? Because some of I don't know if the players are actually upset or not. You don't know. You don't want to read too far into what Dontavian Wicks with the laughing emojis and everything like that. But some of the fans are like, hey, you shouldn't go to the media with that. How do you feel about this whole situation right now?
Well, I will I try not to bring it back to like Penn State or the Eagle, but this situation like really makes me think of, so like in the offseason, there was all this talk, and I can compare it apples to apples because it's receivers, right? Like James Franklin, day after day, week after week would say, these guys need to step up and somebody needs to be the number one receiver. And we don't have that right now. Like somebody needs to assert themselves as the number one receiver. And he would like week after week call these guys out. I mean, it's not like he called them out by name, but like, there's only a certain amount of receivers, right? So same thing with the Packers. I think I'd have less of, even though we've kind of come to question LaFleur to a certain degree, I think I might have less of a problem if it's the coach saying it, only because he's evaluating these guys every day. It's his job to put them in the best position. If you're Josh Jacobs, like I told, it's valid. What he's saying is completely valid. And he's kind of uttering what we have said for weeks, if not months, on what they need. And like, we talk about Crosby all the time, like, almost weekly, that guy would be a huge help. So he's kind of stating the obvious, and I'm sure a lot of fans are going to sit there and say, he's not wrong. But am I wrong to say, is it his place to do so? I mean, this is a guy that, he had one season, like he's a great player. We know that, but he's had one season. It's not like he's a 10-year Packer vet where it's like, okay, you put a mic in front of his face at the Super Bowl, you ask him questions. Like I'm one of those guys that like, I just want my players to kind of go about their, like, go into the GM's office. You know what I mean? Sit down with LaFleur,
Yep.
like hash that out. Like, don't just hold it in. Like, if you feel this way, like that, as a team leader, I think he's a captain, like as one of those guys, like you need to voice that. And, what they did last year wasn't good enough, for a lot of people and for most Packer fans. So I don't disagree with him. I don't like the way he went about it. I don't like hate it, but I don't really like it either. I'm kind of like 50-50. I'm a big Josh Jacobs fan. Like, I think he's a good dude at heart. Maybe he just, you never know into the emotions of people too. Like, let's say the guy's not having a good day. He's at the Super Bowl and they shove mics in front of his face and they're like, hey, what's going to fix this? Right. Like, it's easy for us to say that we would like take the high road and keep our mouth shut. But like, if he's not satisfied, and he came from just enter the expletive, right? The craptastic Raiders. Yep. So like he sees that this team can be on the cusp of something great, but like they're missing pieces, and he's stating the obvious, I think, but it's not the best. I mean, I don't think the Packers, the organization, is going to love this by any means. I mean, you might have guys in that locker room that are like, dude, you got it. You can't be saying that type of thing. But I kind of give him a little bit of respect that he did nut up and say it. Like he didn't hold back. So
that's
so
what
many
I was going to say.
Right? So many
that's what I was going to say is like, you want him to be truthful. You don't want, I want transparency. I want to hear how they're feeling. So in that sense, I'm good with it. Like, I don't want to hear the cliche answers that Matt LaFleur tells me all the times where like, we just got it. I got to look at the film, right? I got to look at the film. I got to look at the film. I got to look at the film. No shit. You got to look at the film. Like, I got that already. I understand you have to look at the film. Like, really? Like, I understand
Captain
that.
Obvious, yeah.
Like, that's where I could see, for me, I'm good with it. I'm good with him coming out and saying, like, this is what we need. This is what I saw. He's not saying that Dontavian Wicks couldn't be a guy. He's not saying that. He's not saying that Dobbs couldn't be a guy. He's not saying Watson couldn't be a guy or Reed, right? But look at all them guys. Look at Watson. He was hurt. He's hurt for most of 2025 now. Like, he's going to be out for most of 2025. Dobbs, concussions, 2 of them, and a suspension. He was out for a while too. Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed. Guess what they did? Dropped the football a lot. your number one wide receiver ain't dropping the football a crap ton, right? They're
Maybe
not.
Yeah, real quick, I definitely want you to keep going there. Just maybe he's doing it to like kind of motivate him. Like, hey guys,
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna call you out because it's like we gotta be better. Like, is it so wrong? Like we talk about coaches, right? Like you talk about LaFleur. I mean, I've seen it with Aaron Boone. Like they never say, oh, hey, Jordan Love sucked today. Like,
Yep.
Is there a problem with saying like that's my thing when we've talked about that before, but maybe he's saying this like, hey, these guys could be the guy, but they got to do it. And like, what's like, Josh Jacobs has proven that he is the guy. Like, there's no competition. Like, he's the number one running back, right? It's not like they're going in, oh, who's going to be the number one? It's going to be shared load. Like, no, he's the number one. Like, maybe he feels, hey, I can say that because I've earned that respect in the league. Like, whether it's the Packers, the Raiders, whatever. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think it could help. I mean, if it breaks you, then it's kind of like you're a soft guy. I don't know.
That's the thing, is that it shouldn't drive a hole between this team right now. It shouldn't. This is just a guy who's saying this is what we need to win right now from what we saw last season. And if Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, or any one of these guys can look themselves in the mirror and look at the film of what they did last year and seriously look at it and say, no, we don't need that. You're nuts. I don't know what you're looking at, because Dontavian Wicks did not have that good of a year. Jaden Reed did not have his best season. Did he have a fine year? Yes, he was fine. It was fine. It wasn't great, right? None of them guys were great. Packers need they need something great. They need somebody to step up and be that guy. Last season, we thought somebody would. They didn't. Tucker Kraft did. He's a tight end, right? So Josh Jacobs just saying like, hey, dude, from what I saw, this is what we need. We need a number one. Whether it comes in-house or whether we go and get Devontae or we go and get a different guy, Cooper Kupp, whatever, I don't care, right? I see a lot of people are like, no Cooper Kupp. I don't understand why people are so against Cooper Kupp. I don't hate that guy. I'd be okay with Cooper Kupp. Maybe he's on the back end of his career, right? Devontae's on the back end of his career right now. You're not going to get – you want to spend money? You want to get a guy who's in his prime right now? Go shell it all out on T. Higgins, because that's the guy who's in the prime right now. Outside of that, guess what? Guess who is running wide out for the Chiefs right now in the Super Bowl? DeAndre Hopkins. He's old. He's not young anymore. He's older, right? I remember him when he was young. He was playing with Deshaun Watson with the Houston Texans. That was a while ago. It's been a couple days since that was going on. You have youth in the room with Jaden Reed, with these other guys. Bring in a vet. Bring in Cooper Kupp. If he wants to take cheap amount of bango bucks, if it takes a third or fourth round pick and you can get Cooper Kupp in the room, you're going to tell me you're going to turn that down? Shut up. Like I would take that deal in a heartbeat. I would. I don't know who wouldn't. A third or fourth round pick, honestly, for the Packers, I'd give them a first round pick, because our first round picks suck, and usually we get our good guys within the third through seventh rounds. So probably give them like a first round pick and just get over it, right? But I mean, that's what everybody's like for Max Crosby or Myles Garrett. They're like, oh, don't shell out the first round picks. It's like, look back at our draft picks and tell me which first round pick is stuck. Tell me which first round pick is stuck, because I have the list here of all the first round draft picks going back to 2018. Jair Alexander, hurt all the time. Rashawn Gary, who knows? Jordan Love, there you go. Eric Stokes, Quay Walker. Nobody has really stuck them to the wall yet right now. So I don't care. Like, at some point, the Packers just need to go all in. They just need to say, screw it. Screw the picks. Stop holding on to picks like they're your like precious gold. Like they're not that precious, because you know what can happen with a pick? They can bust, right? They can bust. Myles Garrett, knock on wood, right? Outside of injury, Myles Garrett's a future Hall of Famer. He's not tanking next year. Knock on wood, he's not going to get injured. He's a dog yet. Max Crosby is a dog yet. Devontae Adams, you already know what you're getting with Devontae. You know what you're going to get with Cooper Kupp. Barring health, those guys can all ball out yet. I don't know what I'm getting from a guy from Alabama. I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting from a guy from Texas A&M. You want to win next year, you can't do it all through the draft. You have to go and get somebody. And you're going to have to spend something to get that somebody. You're going to have to spend a draft pick. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll kind of see what the Packers do there. I got one more question about the Packers. We got to hit an ad break real fast. We're going to come back from the ad break. It's a real short one. Come back. I want to hit that question, and then we got to get to the Badgers yet because the Badgers with another impressive win last night against Indiana. So I want to get to that yet today here. So we're going to get to that ad break. Come back. Packers question, then the Badgers here on the backside. We'll see you in about 10 seconds. I told you 10 seconds. That's all it was. Just 10 seconds there. So my one Packers question, because I heard somebody else talking about this one. Is Matt LaFleur a coach we can see taking the Packers to the Super Bowl? So that's a serious question because you look at coaches around the league. You know, this coach, that coach, Mike McDaniel. I don't think Mike McDaniel can. If the Dolphins had enough talent on that team, I don't think he could take the Dolphins to the Super Bowl. I just don't think he's a good enough coach to do it. There's coaches who have the talent to do it. There's coaches who don't. Is Matt LaFleur a coach we can see taking the Packers to the Super Bowl? I'm going to say yes. I think Matt LaFleur, he can motivate guys. I know he's not a Dan Campbell, like that kind of guy, but Matt LaFleur can motivate guys. I think it's going to be about the right circumstance, the right time. You got to have some things go right for you, right? I mean, you don't have Saquon Barkley, you have Josh Jacobs, right? Your offensive line, you need Jordan Love to play well. Your defense, you need them to step up, make plays. You're going to have youth again, right? You're going to be young. But you just need some things to go right for you. I mean, look at 2 seasons ago, they went to Dallas, and they just completely ran Dallas. They went to the 49ers there, and they played a dang good game against the 49ers. Some may say should have beat the 49ers and ended up going to Detroit, who they had beat previously just a few weeks earlier. So, I mean, things to go right. I think under the right circumstances, Matt LaFleur, he can take him to the Super Bowl. He can win a Super Bowl. I think he could, right? But he needs what I think, honestly, is I agree with Josh Jacobs. The Packers are a couple pieces away. I think they're a bona fide pass rusher away. I think they're a decent veteran wide receiver away. And I think if you bring in, and then you go to the draft, you grab a bunch of corners, right? Because you run a lot of zone. I don't need Revis Island out there. That'd be cool, but I don't need it. I don't need a guy, like Surtain out there. It'd be cool, right? I love guys like that, but I don't need that. I need guys who can just zone up. I need guys who can they're little fast guys who can just run around, right? You can get that out of the draft. You can draft a few and you're good to go, right? So in the pass rush, definitely benefit. Your secondary will benefit from the pass rush. So you bring in a guy like Max Crosby, or you make a massive deal for a guy like Myles Garrett. You bring them into this system. You put them opposite of Rashawn Gary on that defensive line. I love the Packers' chances then. I do. And I think Matt LaFleur could be a guy to take them over the top. It is going to be tough, right? The NFC North is the toughest division in football. We all know that. I mean, there's like the Eagles and the Commanders. There's some good teams on the outskirts, right? But you have the Vikings to deal with. You have the Lions to deal with. You have the Bears. If Ben Johnson figures out Caleb Williams and everything goes well, right? You have the Bears to worry about. And then you have yourself. I mean, this division is loaded up. So it's not going to be easy. But I think Matt LaFleur is a coach that I could see taking the Packers over the top. I really could.
I do agree. I think he's one of those guys that, like, I mean, it's tough to even say, though, because, I mean, look at Belichick without Brady, right? Like, that fell apart very quickly. I was going to say he needs a lot around him to work, but I almost think that's any team. Like, the more you look at that, the more, like, could Sirianni go to the Dolphins? Like, would it look that much different than McDaniel? Who knows, right? Like, we can play that what if game, but I think every coach needs that. Like, okay, we need like having good coordinators, and that's what sucks about if you go to Super Bowl, boom, they get snatched up. I mean, the Chiefs have been lucky to keep their defensive coordinator for so long there, but you saw Bieniemy leave. He hasn't come back there. Like, that's one of those things. But if you can, fine tune who you get as coordinators, obviously there's so many things we talk about with the Packers there that like this could help, that could help. But the things that stand out, like you said, wide receiver, number one wide receiver, bona fide number one, and then some more pass rush. Like that's key. I think they've like to build a very good team. I always want to go in the trenches first. Like that's how I think the Eagles have had some decent success. Yeah. Offensive line, defensive line. The Packers have the offensive line right now it's you can leave it the way it is. Maybe you want to add some depth, sure. That's probably everybody. But like the defensive line, we harped on that so many times. So
Yep.
if it came down to, I don't think Matt LaFleur would coach you out of many games. Now, I think he needs to coach you to win some close games. That's a little bit his kind of like questionable things right now. But, as we look forward, I mean, who knows? Detroit, I kind of thought Detroit would take a little bit of a step back last year. I couldn't be more wrong there. But they lose both their coordinators are gone. So I'll be interested to see, are they as good, this third year in a row? I'm not saying
Yeah.
it will be, but it remains to be seen. And then the Vikings, I'm not saying that was a 1-year fluke, but am I convinced they're going to go win 14 games next year? I'm not like betting on that. I bet the under on that. So I said it last year. I thought it was the Packers division to win or to lose rather. It could be the same situation here. I don't know if either one of those teams are going to be as prolific. They could be, but I'm not going to say that they're going to be. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. No, I would agree. I would agree 100% with you. The
it's
Lions are
up
going to be
for
a
grabs
question
still.
mark.
You're not out of
Yeah.
it. You're not out of the.
And I think, the problem is if you don't add those pass rushers, if you don't add those pieces, somebody else is going to do it. The Eagles will do it. The Lions will do it. Somebody will do it. Somebody will go after Miles
The
Garrett.
49ers are kind of quiet.
Yep.
Like,
Somebody's going to make that move if you don't make that move. So you got to jump on this thing when you can, right? You don't want the Eagles to go out and grab Miles Garrett. You don't want to deal with that in the playoffs, right? I mean, you don't want the Lions to go get him. You don't want the Bears to go and grab Miles Garrett, though I don't think they will, but you don't want them to grab somebody like that. Maybe you double dip. Maybe you grab a guy like Khalil Mack and you get another guy out there, right? I mean, there's a lot of possibilities for the Green Bay Packers. They got some money to spend. We'll see what they do. We'll see what they do in free agency and everything like that. So a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff there. But we got to get to the Badgers, Aaron. We got to get to the Badgers because the Badgers, they got another big win, another big home win here against Indiana. This was a game where we were like, I don't know. I felt good going into this one. But at the same time, I was like, Balo, Indiana's been scuffling. The Badgers have just been playing well. It's like, when is it going to be that time, right? And Wisconsin, this is the 21st win that they've had against Indiana in Madison. It goes all the way back into the 90s. So that's impressive. That is an impressive home win streak for the Badgers against Indiana there. But, I mean, this game here, looking at it, the Badgers, they did the complete opposite of what happened in Northwestern. The Badgers came out hot, Aaron. I mean, 26-4 at one point. It was 26-4 in this game. It was 29 to what? I think it's 29-8 at one point in this one. The Badgers just came out hot. Let's just go with that. They came out hot. They came out guns a-blazing. Indiana wasn't ready for it. They weren't. They were slow in transition. And I was listening to the press conference after the game, and Max Klesman said it perfectly. They were asked Max Klesman about the pace of play and, jumping on Indiana. And he said, this is something we want to do because he said, Indiana, they wanted to get Balo running because Balo's a big guy. He's a big guy. They wanted to get him running. They wanted to tire him out. And I was like, all right. I love that. I love that answer because you don't think of it like that. And the Badgers in this one, they went right after Balo. They did extremely well. I was worried about the post for Indiana. I was like, the Badgers have struggled against good post players on the season. I don't know about this matchup here. Renew and Balo in this game, 4 for 9. 4 for 9 in this one. That's impressive. That's impressive work. That's credit to the big fellas down low, right? Nolan Winter and Steven Crowell getting the job done in the paint. But that's also credit to the guards because I thought the Badgers, I asked the question when they went in this game. I said I was interested to see what Greg Gard would do to adjust to the Badgers struggling against big guys, right? I said it point blank. I said the Badgers' biggest problem, their biggest flaw is when they get against big guys. They struggle. And I was like, what will Greg Gard do to adjust to that? He kept digging the guards down. Max would come down, or they'd have Tanjay or somebody else come down. They'd dig the guards down. They'd double them up in the post. They'd force a kick out, and they rotated out. When they rotated out, they rotated fast. And they got back out on shooters. And they just kept doing it and doing it and doing it all game long. And that's what led to the early success was, I was listening to Greg Gard, he was 100% correct. It wasn't as much the offense. Yes, the offense was great, right? I mean, it was great to see the Badgers put up, 26-4 right away off the bat. Like, that was awesome. Like, that's great. But defensively, the Badgers looked awesome to start this game. They looked awesome. They were getting after them. They were in the passing lanes. They were picking off passes. They were blocking shots. They were doing all the little things early in this game that you just love to see. Defensively, the Badgers started out this game hot, and it was awesome. That's what I love. That's what I love to see there. The big thing for me, though, in this one was seeing the play that they had on the guards too in here, because in the pick and roll game, in the screen game, right? Bala wants to set a screen for Galloway, for Rice, whatever it is. And he wants to get that so that way he can get some 2-on-1 action, right? He wants to get some 2-on-1 action, get himself working downhill. And what the guards did to kind of get around that screen fast, get back on shooters, press that was great, because you limited what they were able to do in that pick and roll game and everything like that. So great stuff there out of the guards for the Badgers. Winter and Crowell, that turnaround jumper that Winter had, he pulled off a little Dirk fade. Not only did they go up 26-4, but Nolan Winter pulled off a Dirk fade. I mean, he did a double tap, he dribbled in, turned his back, stepped out, knocked down a jumper, and I was like, oh, okay. He's reaching deep into that bag of tricks. He's reaching deep in there right now. Steven Crowell starts the game with a triple, right? Knocks down the three to begin to open up the scoring. And it's just like, and then once Max hit 2 threes, I point blank looked at my wife for watching the game, looked at her. I was like, they're screwed. Oh, yeah, they're screwed. Max is banging. They're screwed. Like, everybody's hitting at this point here. Carter Gilmore hit another 3 in this one. We got the Red Shed. Nice to see you tonight, Red Shed there. I mean, what were you thinking, hey, after that game there? Because I know you always got something to tell us there. What were you thinking after this one here? I got bad colors here for my design on the screen right now. I don't like that. There we go. Fix that problem up there. But all in all, just a great team win for the Wisconsin Badgers here. 76-64 was the final. Looked a little bit closer at the end. You put in the second stringers almost, and it got a little bit closer there late in this one. But Indiana's only been held to 60 points I think they're held to 60 points one time on the season. So the Badgers holding to 64, and those 64, a couple of those points came after the starters were pulled. That's a pretty darn good day at the office defensively for the Wisconsin Badgers. So I love the offense for the Badgers, but in this one, I'm taking my hat and I'm tipping it to the defense, because it didn't matter who they put in. Gilmore, Kamari McGee, whoever was in there defensively, they were great in this one. I love what they asked the 3 of them. I think it was Nolan Winter, Kamari McGee, and Klesmet after the game. They're in the press conference. They asked them, how they felt about Gilmore getting the MVP chance, because the whole Kohl Center was giving Carter Gilmore the MVP chance during this game, and all of them right away love it, and they're like beautiful, and they had all great things to say about him, and they said it point blank. They're like, you love to hear that for a guy who has put nothing but time and effort in, and he brings a spark, and that's something that is not really noticed about this Badger team. Is it doesn't matter whether it's a starting 5. When you go from the starting 5 to the bench, you expect a dip, right? You expect it to kind of dip off the energy level, whatever it is. When the Badgers go to that bench, whether it's Janicki, whether it's Kamari McGee, whether it's Carter Gilmore, Xavier Amos, even at times, there isn't that dip in the game. There isn't that dip. They bring that same juice. Actually, they bring even more juice, right? I would say that Gilmore and McGee bring even more juice off the bench than what the starters just had in there. And I think that's what impresses me the most about this team, is that when they go to that depth, the depth still produces, right? Carter Gilmore just averaged double figures again, 3 for 3 from downtown. This guy is just knocking down shots left and right here. Corner 3 specialist, Kamari McGee. I love that. They asked him about it, and he's like, I just like chucking him up. I don't know. He had 9 points in this one here. And you look at the assist number, 13 assists for the Badgers, 6 assists for Max Klesmet. 6 of them for Max Klesmet, sharing that basketball, 13 points to go along with it in this game here. All in all, this was just a fantastic game. A fantastic game, because I saw the defense. I saw the defense for the Badgers. and it stepped up in a big way, and the big guys stepped up in a big way. The guards stepped up in a big way to limit what the big guys for Indiana were able to do. Ballo, I mean, last season when the Badgers played Arizona, when he was with Arizona, he had a fantastic day, and this one, 4 points. He was limited. He was limited by this Badger defense, and that's huge. That's big time. That's a guy who averages 14 points a game, and that's big time to hold him down in this one here in 27 minutes. 27 minutes of gameplay, he had 4 points for this Indiana team and wasn't able to get off many shots. That's what you love to see. That's what you love to see there. John Blackwell, he's still making me kind of nervous here. He's still kind of making me nervous. He had 3 turnovers once again. He did have, 8 rebounds, so you love to see that. But the scoring, 8 points on 3 for 12 from the floor in this one, 0 for 2 from downtown. Blackwell's kind of cooled off. John Tonje just does John Tonje things. I mean, that was a grown man play when he came down the court on that fast break and he shoved, I can't remember if it was Renew or was it Mabako, but he just kind of gave him the shoulder shove and then he threw the hammer down, just jumped straight up and threw the hammer down right in his face. And I was like, yeah, that's grown man basketball there by John Tonje. I love it. I do. And you know what? I was talking about that press conference before, listening to Max Klesman after the game. They asked him, they said, they didn't ask, they asked everybody. They said, you guys were picked to finish 12th in the Big Ten. And before this guy was even able to finish his question, Max Klesman go, we don't care. That's what he said. We don't care. And the guy goes, well, hold on. He finishes out his question there. But I love that. And then Nolan Winter chimes in and he's like, yeah, we just don't care. Like, we don't care. We know what we had in the room. We know what we had. Let them, and he said something about, let them chatter and stuff like that. We knew what we had in the room. We just went out there and we played our game. And we're letting it show right now. And you love that there. So we got more to get into with the Badgers here. I want to recap more of this game here. We're going to get to it on the backside. We got one more ad break. We're going to come back. We're going to wrap up the show here. Red Shed, if you got anything else to add there with the Badgers from what you saw last night, would love to hear it from you or anybody else in the comment section there. Make sure you're adding your Badgers comments from what you saw last night, because a big win for the Wisconsin Badgers here as they improve to 18-5. So we'll see you guys on the other side of the ad break.
This show is brought to you by these fantastic sponsors. Marshfield Motor Speedway, located 3 miles outside of Marshfield on County Road H. Tons of family fun for all ages. Great food, great drinks, great racing. I cannot think of a better way to spend a summer day or night than down at the track. Next is Sports Scene in Marshfield, Wisconsin, located at the Marshfield Mall. Get down there and see Al. He has everything you need, from sports cards, memorabilia, jerseys, model stock cars. He's got it all. Sports Scene in Marshfield. And then we have Peggy Sue Beslick, Century 21. Do you want to find your dream home or maybe looking to sell your current property? Let Peggy Sue Beslick at Century 21 help you with all of your housing or property needs.
You know what I always tell you, Aaron? New year, buy, sell, get rid of that clunker. That's what you got to do there. Peggy Sue, Century 21 there. So that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. We're just here to tell you. We're not here to tell you, but we're here to tell you that's what you got to do. So, this game here, Aaron, I loved what I saw. I loved what I saw there. The one thing I was going to say, I have it in my notes here about Xavier Amos, is there's times when I think Xavier Amos I feel like he's about to go off offensively, and then he just kind of hits this wall again for me. It's like he gets to this point where he had a sweet little turnaround. He drove the lane. I can't remember if it was I think it was on Ballo. He drove in on the lane there and did a little shoulder shrug and then, dip back, hit a little jumper. And I was like, that was impressive. That was a sweet move. He knew he was quicker than Ballo. He took him on the bounce. He got a step on him, and then he hit a little step back. I love that. But then there's those few questionable shots. There's a few questionable things that happens. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm feeling about you right now. So Amos has definitely got some growing to do. But like I said, he's a role player. He's a role player at this point. You hope that he develops a little bit more in guard system there. I always, like we talked about the last time, I just feel like he's so much like Aleem Ford. One night, Aleem Ford could go off for 40 points, it seems like. And the next night, if he misses the first 2 shots, he's cold as all get out. So, that's kind of how I see him at this point here. But outside of there was one questionable part in this game. They went into the half, and the Badgers were up 42-28. And all of a sudden in the halftime, they said, well, we went back and there was a goaltending call that they had called. Max Klesman was driving, and I think they called it on Ballo. He blocked Max Klesman, and they called it goaltending. Well, they went back at halftime, and they reversed the call. I think that's stupid, to be honest with you. I do. Why can you go back like 4 minutes later and change a call just because it's a dead ball now? Threes and twos, I get it, right? Threes and twos, if a guy's foot's on the line or something, like I wanted to get that call, right? So if they're not going to stop the game to look and see if it was a 3 or a 2. So I get those at dead balls, like going back and looking at that. This was a goaltend call. This was you made the decision to call it goaltending and you stuck to your guns. You went to the half, they reviewed it, and then you switch it going in. And instead of, I mean, it didn't really hurt Wisconsin. They ended up winning the basketball game, but I just think that's so stupid. I think it's stupid that you have the ability to go in at halftime and change a call. Like, I don't know, Aaron, how do you feel about that? Like, they go in at half and, it's minutes later and they just change a call with something that they made on the floor. Like threes and twos, like I said, I get that one. Like, you want to get those calls right. You don't want to stop a game to check if it was a 3 or a 2 in the middle of a game, right? When it's not crunch time. But a goaltend call, you're going to go back and change that? Like that was odd to me. That was very odd to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think now, would you be in favor if there were like, let's say 3 shots that Indiana took that were questionable, and then 2 that Wisconsin took that were questionable, whether it's a 3 or a 2, right? Like there's an inch between the guy's foot and the line. Like they're just looking at it at halftime. Do you think they should like contemplate every single close? Because that would be like, okay, we're awarding, Wisconsin 6 points and we're awarding Indiana 10 or whatever, vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that be some, like, if that was a game by game thing, that would be like, oh, the score is not actually this, it's this, like that. I don't know. To me, like, I totally agree with you. Yeah, like you hit the nail on the head with, we want to get the calls right. We want to make the game as close to, officiated perfect as possible.
Yep.
But for, like you said, 4 minutes ago, I just, if it's like in the last couple minutes, yeah, like sure, like we're gonna look at it a ton of times. But like, I don't know, a goaltending call that takes away a 2 or awards a 2, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't know. You
know.
can't be
Like,
doing
that's
that
in the
game.
moment. That's an in the moment call. That's
Yeah,
not like
exactly
you can
that.
change it 4 minutes after the fact. I don't know. I just thought it was silly that you could go back that late there and change that call. But whatever, right? Whatever. The Badgers ended up winning the game. I just thought it was kind of a silly thing that they went after it. But basically, at this point, I'm campaigning for Carter Gilmore for Player of the Year. Like, that's just how it is. That's just how it is at this point. Let's just campaign for this guy to get Player of the Year. I did see that this was Dylan Graff who reported. I saw this across Twitter there. He said that Wisconsin has not lost a game when allowing fewer than 65 points since the NIT loss to North Texas in 2023. That's impressive. So whenever they hold a team below 65 points, they win that basketball game. They're 20-0 since 2023 in games where they hold teams below 65 points. That's some darn good. That's some darn good stats right there. So love to see that. I did see Scary Alvarez. I love looking at his stuff across social media there. He posted the preview from, I think this was Sports Illustrated for the 2024-2025 season. They picked the Badgers to finish 17th in the Big Ten. 17th. They said that the trio combined with, they said that Blackwell and Freetag would be very exciting. And they also added in Nolan Winter. And they said that trio combined with vets Steven Crowl and Max Klesman and a trio of floor-raising portal additions give the Badgers a fighting chance at an NCAA tournament. I don't know. John Tanjay's playing like he's a dog. So Sports Illustrated doesn't know jack crap. That's all I know at this point. Like that, I just saw that today and I was like, well, we officially know they don't know anything at this point here. I did mention earlier, so this was a stat I saw. Wisconsin's home record versus Indiana since 1998 is 21-0. Wisconsin's home record versus Indiana in the previous 21 games before that, 3-18.
Wow.
So complete flip the script on the years right there. In 1998, they just said, enough's enough, guys. We're gonna go on a 21 game burner now, right? We've been getting our pants kicked here, so we're gonna go on a 21 game burner here and take care of our own business. I did want to read some Greg Gard quotes here. So Gard said, we are really efficient at transition, even though we're maybe not known as a transition team. It's a byproduct of the system and us keep coming in waves. I completely agree with that. I saw that quote from Greg Gard Wisconsin, when you look at them, they don't look like a transition basketball team, right? They don't have a boatload of athleticism. Like Max Klesman's got, he's athletic, but you're not running around like Duke. You're not running around like some of these other programs. So what makes them so good is that they come in waves, right? They're able to do those little things. They're able to knock down those threes. They're able to beat you in transition in those ways, move the basketball, and that's what makes them a darn good team right there. So I love that quote from Greg Gard. Greg Gard said, he likes his group's growth over the past few weeks. This group has the humility to them. I agree. Resiliency of this team, like I said, I mean, this was a team that was picked to finish 17th, 12th. I mean, they were picked to finish basically dead last in the Big Ten. They were on the verge of not making the Big Ten tournament. I mean, that's kind of what experts, right? Experts had to say about the Wisconsin Badgers. And just to see what they just stuck to their own crap, right? They knew what they had. They didn't let the outside noise get to them. They beat Arizona, and Arizona has been moving up in the rankings, so that win is looking even better and better at this point here. They beat Rutgers. Rutgers is currently beating Illinois, so if Rutgers can hang on, that would look like a good win. I mean, they've been through their battles. They've definitely been through their battles now. So this Wisconsin team is exciting. They're high up there in the KenPom rankings, up in that net rankings too. So you love to see it there out of this Badger team. Greg Gard did say on the interior defense, I felt it was important for us to keep the ball out of the paint, to keep the ball going east to west, and not getting deep penetration was important. I felt they did a really good job, especially early, being aggressive. 100%. That's what I mentioned before there. The Badgers, not just the big guys, but also the guards, keeping the guards out of the paint, keeping the guards from being able to drive and being able to kick some of those big fellows like Balo or like Renew there. I thought that was huge in this one. So Greg Gard did harp on that a little bit. And then he said, he went on to talk about Greg Gard on Max Klesman's 6 assists, 0 turnovers. So, I mean, Max had 0 turnovers in that game too, which is even more impressive than those 6 assists. And he said he's always impacted the game in a positive way. I know he hasn't shot it well recently, but he does a lot of little things that help us win. The emotional leadership he brings. He was a big start to us defensively in this game. And that's the thing, right? I know Red Jed and I, we were talking about that Kamari McGee in for Max Klesman kind of scenario, right? And when you're looking at offense, you fail to see the little things, right? And that's defensively, that's, leadership on the court. It's those little things that you tend to forget about. And that's what Max Klesman brings to this basketball team. So does John Tonje, right? And so does a guy like, I don't know if Steven Crowell does. He seems kind of like a silent killer out there. But Max Klesman, John Tonje, those are your leaders, right? John Tonje does it offensively. He's still scoring. But Max Klesman, defensively, he's still a guy. He's still a great defender, and he still gets after guys. So that's something that, I forget at times. Some people forget at times, is that end of the day, you need guys like that. You need guys like that who can step up. Now you just hope that the offense slowly starts to come along with Max Klesman. This game here started out hot, got 2 big threes. After that, kind of simmered off a little bit. But you hope maybe that kind of sparks him. These efforts where he's putting it on the defensive end and he's, distributing the basketball so well. 6 assists in this game was impressive. You hope that with that comes the offense eventually, and he's able to step up and fill into that role there, be that third scorer for the Wisconsin Badgers. Because I've said it and I'll say it again. If Max Klesman finds himself, this Badger team is going to be scary. Look what they have now. John Tonje is still a dog, right? And then you add in the likes. You go 1 through 5. All 5 can knock it down from the outside. We saw that in this game here. Nolan Winter had 2 threes. Steven Crowell had 3 in this one. Max Klesman had 2. We know John Blackwell can hit him. He didn't have any in this one, but we know he can hit him. And then John Tonje had a 3 in this one. You have Kamari McGee. You have Gilmore coming off the bench and knocking down 3s. We know Xavier Amos can knock down 3s. We know this team can go deep and knock down 3s. If Max Klesman starts to become a consistent guy along with John Tonje and John Blackwell, wow. I wouldn't want to see this team. I wouldn't want to mess with this team because they're putting up 76 points a game, 80 points a game, and Max Klesman isn't cooking on all cylinders. If he starts cooking, that's dangerous. That's a dangerous darn team right there. So I love the direction of this Badgers team right now, 76-64 over this Indiana ball club. A great team win. Right, great team win. Shot 43% for the Badgers there, 41% from 3, 70% from the free throw line. That free throw percentage for the Badgers is slowly, game after game, kind of went down a little bit, right? The beginning of the season, they were hot from the free throw line. It seemed like we were looking at 16 for 18 days and stuff like that. As of late, it's kind of dwindled on us a little bit here, down to 70%. So, I mean, hopefully they can pick that back up because they're on pace to set the record for best free throw percentage throughout a season, all time. Any team ever. So, like, I'm hoping that they can keep that percentage up a little bit here because that would be an impressive stat to carry over if you are the Wisconsin Badgers. So, Aaron, I mean, anything else you saw coming off this Badger game that stuck out to you?
I mean, I think this was one of those moments where we can like point to Max Klesman, where it's like, okay, that's the guy that we want to see more times than not, right? Offensively, like you knock on all the points, defensively, like he's comes as advertised defensively, like that's to be expected, but offensively, he's been up down, kind of Jekyll and Hyde all year. This is like an example of what he can be, if he can find it, right? So if he can find it more consistently, that's what you love to see. I mean, like you said, Carter Gilmore is like just, kind of on fire at this point right now. And then just, keeping the basketball away from Indiana in that one, like six turnovers, the way they were like just, throwing the ball all the way around the court, like just passing the ball efficiently, like that's like well-oiled machine type stuff. So that's what you want to see him do. I mean, obviously not every night's going to be like that, but I mean, much improved on the turnover front. And like you said, defensively, limiting their star guys that, we kind of previewed and there's a lot of buzz about. They didn't do much of anything. So that's what you like to see as well. It's one of those wins like, yeah, Indiana's not a powerhouse, but it's like, hey, you took care of business and like the way you dominated them, that's like, okay, we can go out and really play with the big boys. If we play this way, like it's going to be a tough out for anybody. So that's how you want to bring it, night in, night out if you can. And you found it, just last night. So
yeah. No, I agree. I agree 100%. I had to look up the Badgers free throw percentage just to check. They're still at 84%, so we're still cooking. We're fine. We're fine. I'd love to see that stay around that 84 to 85. But I mean, the way the Badgers do it, that's the thing, is that they can do it in so many different ways. Threes, they can hit it from downtown. They can get to the rim. They hit cutters. If they can get the interior play going with Steven Crowell on a consistent basis, I think that's going to take this team to another level, right? I think Max Klesman's one thing. I think what you're getting out of Max right now is perfectly fine, right? If he gives me 13 points a game, if he gives me 13 points and he gives me 6 assists, no turnovers, and he plays dynamite defense, I'll take it. I'll take that one. Like that's okay with me. I think it's, when it's a high volume of shots just to get 13 points, that's when you start to worry. That's when you're like, okay, dial it off there, dial it off. But in a game like this where you're just completely running Indiana out of your building at one point, Max Klesman taking a couple extra shots to try to find himself isn't the worst thing in the world. So like, I'm not completely opposed to that at all there. So, I mean, Aaron, anything else we got to wrap us up here for the day?
Not really. I mean, I'm sure it was like this in other years with the Super Bowl as far as, the press conferences, but it seems like, is it really necessary to like put these guys in front of a mic every single day and like ask them their favorite? Like Jameis Winston to me is stealing the show. Like he is must see team. Like he is definitely a commentator, even more so than like Brady to me. After his playing career is over here, so he's killing it. I love the fact he's throwing out cookies like the W, because that clip where he's in the huddle pregame. We gotta eat this W. We gotta and it's just like the creativity from that guy is unmatched. You can't match it with anybody in my opinion, and he's doing great. But man, O'Day, like, is enough press enough? Like I see guys on the Eagles, even I think some guys on the Chiefs where they're like, dude, like I'm tired of this, and like they get paid a lot of money, sure, but like it's getting to be like let's just play the game, like or let's cut the media press a little bit, like one of the two. But it's interesting. It's media week. It's Super Bowl week, so
I agree. It's the Super Bowl week is well, and you listen to Bill Michaels and that he said it's changed so much because now you have podcasters and you have all this kinds of different kind of sports services or entertainment or whatever you want to call them. There's so many different groups down there now that it's just madness. It's just complete madness down there now. So, I mean, we'll see. We got Super Bowl coming up. We're going to get to our Super Bowl picks on Friday. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl a little bit. So we're going to get Aaron's excited. We get to talk about Eagles a little bit. So we're going to get into that. We have the Badgers taking on Iowa on Saturday. So we're going to get to that preview. We got that to talk about on Friday. And who the heck knows, right? We might, Dontavian Wicks and Josh Jacobs might fight. We don't know what's going to happen there come Friday. So we got lots to get into coming up. The trade deadline in the NBA is coming up too. So we're going to see if the Bucks will make another move. I did see the Bucks did win over the Charlotte Hornets, as they should, but they did pull off that win there against the Charlotte Hornets, 112-102. So good stuff there out of the Milwaukee Bucks. So we got lots to get into Friday on the show. Who knows? Maybe we'll have to get Kyle. We might have to get Kyle out of retirement for a day here to come on and talk about the NBA because, you know, there's so much that's been happening. He's got lots to say, so we might have to get him on here. So with that, that's about all we got for today. For Aaron and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you guys back here on Friday. But until